Hello and welcome to Byjus Exam Prep IAS. A very warm good morning to everyone. I hope all of you are doing good and I hope your preparation also is going right on track. I also hope that most of you have been attempting the test of our ongoing All India Prelims test series. If you have not done that, please check out the details from our app as well. Also reminding you, once again, if you have any issues in your UPSC preparation and you would like to have a one-on-one counseling session with one of our experts, all that you have to do is go to the link that is given in the description of the video, the link of the Google form. Fill up that form and one of our experts will get in touch with you shortly to resolve all your queries. Now, on that note, let's see what are the topics that we have taken up for today's discussion. From the mains exam point of view, we'll be discussing the current situation, the current scenario of Indian police right now. Now, as you know, annually, we have a conference of the DGPs of the entire country. So basically the highest ranked police officers of the state come together, have a conference where usually the Home Minister of the country, the Prime Minister also in most of the cases, they address the police officers and they discuss about the pending issues. This is what happened a few days back. So what are the key takeaways? What happened in that conference? What are the issues in the Indian police? This is what this article is all about. Second article is about the long wait for Indian citizenship for those who came to India as refugees from Sri Lanka but have been forced to live in the refugee camps in Tamil Nadu for over 3 decades now. There are many people who have been fighting a case in Indian courts to get them citizenship, but right now there are lakhs of people who are still stuck in those refugee camps who came from Sri Lanka on the hope that they will be given Indian citizenship. From the prelims exam point of view, the first article, the Supreme Court, despite multiple petitions, has not stayed the implementation of the new law about the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and the election commissioners. The Supreme Court has not dismissed the petition. They have just said that we will hear it later on. Right now, we are not staying that law. Then, the article about a global meet on pulses that will be held in India to discuss about the way forward to increase the pulses production across the entire world. Next article is about tuberculosis. India again has gotten increased number of TB notifications. Notification basically means officially getting a record of the TB patients. That has increased in 2023, which is a positive sign. Don't think of it as a negative sign. TB notification basically refers to the fact that the TB patient has been identified. Because the problem with TB is if you don't identify the patient, it becomes very problematic to then look for that patient. The disease may also spread. So when you have increased number of notifications, in India it is assumed that it is good, system is working properly. Then the global shipping has a new issue. After the issues in the Red Sea, we now have certain issues in the Panama Canal as well. So we'll be discussing what those issues are, the significance of the Panama Canal going forward. Let's begin with the first article. So the first article, as I said, is about the issue with the Indian police system. So just recently in Jaipur, Rajasthan, there was a 3-day conference of the DGPs, that is the Director General of Police from different states in India. This is an annual exercise where, as I said, Home Minister and the Prime Minister usually meet the officers. This time also, it was a chance for the officers across the entire country to discuss the issues. They exchange ideas. For example, they discuss how are they trying to tackle certain challenges. The issue with the police is, since it's a state subject, different states will have different practices. So certain states will have some other ways of dealing with issues not just about crime, issues about dealing with their own staff, issues about training, issues about making the police more accountable to the public, so on and so forth. So this kind of a conference gives a chance to the police to exchange ideas and also for the police to interact with the top leadership of the country. And this is what happened here as well. Now, the article here talks about certain issues in Indian policing. First big issue, the public image. Now, it may be because of the movies that we see or it may be because of some stories that you would hear. But across the entire country, the general perception is that you avoid the police as much as possible. You would have heard people say that, oh, people in our generations have never entered a police station. And they say this with a lot of pride, that no one in our family ever has entered a police station. Why? Because for most of the people, going to a police station means there is something wrong that you did. Not that something wrong happened to you, but something wrong that you did. Also, the other perception that is connected to this is that the police does not help the common people. Again, this is a general conception in the minds of the people, that police would help those who are already influential, the police will help those who are already powerful, who are rich, who are politically connected, etc. So someone who does not have any political connections, someone who does not have any influence, does not really have a chance to get any help from the police. Now, this may be true or may not be true, but the point is, when you have such a widespread image in the minds of the people, it starts impacting the others as well who might be neutral towards the police. Let me give you a simple example. Let's assume that I have a problem and to get it resolved, I want to go to the police. But when I talk to my friends or my relatives, all of them who had a bad experience with the police, they will tell me, oh, there's no point going there. There's no point reporting to the police. You will be in trouble. So that creates an impression. So the public image now becomes a big problem here. And again, the blame has to go to the police. The blame has to go to the politicians as well. The blame has to be shared by everyone. But the fact is, respectable citizens usually want to avoid going to the police station. Add to that the problem of politicization. Now again, this is a harsh reality and especially a reality that you should be aware of as UPSC aspirants. Police officers, starting from the very top till the bottom rank, are always under the influence of politicians. The fact is that the working of the police is influenced by the laws that are made, and also there's a lot of power in the hands of the political executive. Power such as to take action against police officers, power such as to transfer the police officer against their wishes. All of that means that there are still issues that are unresolved. So the police is stuck in between. On one hand, there is the public who does not think good of the police. On the other hand, there are politicians, the political executive, who again try to use the police to make their own ends meet. This is why the police is under excruciating pressure to keep both the sides happy. And to add to that, you have to understand the working of the police, the working conditions are not appropriate. There are no fixed working hours. For example, if something wrong happened and someone called the police station at 2 a.m. in the night, they can't say, oh, our working hours are 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. call between that. No. If there is something wrong that happened in the middle of the night, you would have to be there. You would have to go there. And this is how the normal stuff works. There are no day-to-day celebrations that they can be sure of. For example, you would have heard this, that if, a simple example, let's say if the festival of Holi is 5th of March. Just an assumption. If the festival of Holi is 5th of March, do you know the police officers don't celebrate this on 5th of March. They celebrate it the next day, 6th of March or 7th of March. Why? Because on these festivals, they have to be on duty to make sure that no untoward incident is happening. So it's acceptable all around that their life is extremely, extremely difficult. Now, the other problem here is, a lot of people in the police have not adopted technology as much as they should have. See, the nature of crimes is changing. As more and more people get their hands on technology, more and more cyber crimes are taking place, because of which we see that the police is not adequately prepared to handle those. Something is changing on the ground as per the author. People who are now joining the police at the lower level. When I say lower level, that means sub-inspector or the constable, because this is where direct recruitment happens. People joining at the sub-inspector, constable level now are more aware of new things. They are more aware of technology. However, there is a stark contrast between the higher officers, that is the IPS officers, and the people who are lower. Why? The people who are coming in from the grounds, they have their ears on the ground, they're connected to the people, they know about what is happening in the local community. While the people sitting up in the higher offices, as per the author, are not really aware of the changes that are happening on the ground. The bad part is, sadly, there is not much interaction that takes place between the high rank officials and the low rank officials in the police. This is important, because the high rank officials can learn a lot of things from the low rank officials as well. Listening to them, listening to their day-to-day instances, listening to what is happening on the ground, talking to them about the new technologies coming up. Similarly, the low rank officials can obviously learn a lot from the high rank officials, from their experience, from how they handle matters, from how they handle political pressure, etc. Unfortunately, that intermingling is not happening. So the author suggests that DGPs and their immediate subordinates should spend an hour a day teaching their ranks, means basically lower rank, how to expand their frontiers of knowledge, and also how to use this for the benefit of the common man. So apart from all the reforms that are carried out by the judiciary or by the parliament, apart from that, as per the author, there has to be internal police reforms as well, more intermingling of the senior and the lower rank police officials. About the interference of the politics, see, it is a harsh reality. You see this in movies and you also hear about this in real life. No one can deny the fact that there is obvious interference of the politicians in the working of the police. It is because the politicians think that the police should work in their favor, and the police, on the other hand, has other ideas. Now, there is no easy solution to this. The reality is, as per the author, in any democratic country, this problem will exist. Yes, there are a lot of ways in which the police officers can raise their voice. There are a lot of ways in which they can register their grievances. They can obviously report this to the judiciary as well. But at the end of the day, this problem remains unresolved. It can only be resolved if the political class itself decides to take the step forward and decides to ensure that no, we will not have any discrimination and will allow the police to do their job. Now, if you look at the history of police reforms in India, it's an old story and they're still continuing. See, establishments such as the police, the armed forces, you can't bring many reforms continuously or frequently. Please understand, these kind of establishments, be it the police, be it the armed forces, they work on a consistent model, on a consistent structure. If you keep on making changes drastically or very frequently, it creates a problem for people within and for the people outside as well. So there are some reforms that have been introduced and have been suggested. For example, starting from the British era, Police Act of 1961 was introduced after 1857 revolt. This act basically brought the police structure under the control of the senior officials, who are obviously the British. They were the ones who ensured that there is a centralized hierarchical structure so that such kind of a revolt does not happen again. After independence, the first major reform was the National Police Commission formed under Morarji Desai government. They suggested a lot of things. Again, these commissions, etc., they can just suggest a few things rather than enforcing them. They recommended action against custodial rape, death due to police firing, etc. How it should be, there should be a compulsory judicial inquiry if something like this happens. Because understand, this was a post-emergency era. It was just after the emergency ended that this government was formed. There were a lot of allegations, there were a lot of cases filed by the common public against the police atrocities. So this commission was formed. Then the Bureau Committee 1998 was formed. It recommended setting up Police Performance Accountability Commission in different states, District Complaints Authority where people can complain to the police. However, when you read about police reforms in India, the most famous case regarding this is the Prakash Singh case. Now, Prakash Singh, himself a very senior retired police officer, he had been fighting for police reform for a long time. He had filed a case which led to the Supreme Court giving what you call as a Prakash Singh guidelines. In these guidelines, the courts gave 7 principles about what to do. For example, having a fixed tenure for the GDP, a 2-year tenure for the Superintendent of Police and the SHOs, having separate investigation and law and order functions, having a police complaint authority, etc. In 2006, thus, the government reacting to that formed the Model Police Act. It was again mainly because of the Prakash Singh case decision. The Model Act, again, it's similar to the Model Prison Act that was recently passed. Again, just like the prison, police is a state subject. So central government cannot make the law and force it upon the states. Central government can make the law for the police and can be applicable to union territories. For the state governments, they can just suggest this. So Model Act means suggesting to the state that you may make these changes. Some of these were made, but many of them have still not been changed at the state level. That was the first article. Second article is about the issue of citizenship in India with respect to the Indian origin Tamil population that came in from Sri Lanka. Indian origin Tamils that came in from Sri Lanka. Now, you would have read all about this in international relations when we talk about India-Sri Lanka relations. Sri Lanka, just like India, was ruled by the British. The British took a lot of Indians, especially from the Madras presidency of that time, to work in Sri Lanka in their plantations. When Sri Lanka got independence, Sri Lanka demanded that Indian origin Tamils, whoever have come from India, we will not give them citizenship. They have to leave. When the people did not leave, the government of Sri Lanka committed a lot of atrocities. The armed forces started killing a lot of people, forcing them out. This culminated into what you call as a Sri Lankan civil war. Now, in that era, India stood up for the rights of the Tamil population in Sri Lanka. There were multiple agreements signed between the government of India and the government of Sri Lanka in 1960s and 70s, where India promised to give citizenship to a lot of Indian origin Tamils from Sri Lanka. However, that citizenship being given from India decision stopped in 1983. In 1983, the government of India announced that we will not be giving further citizenship right now to the Indian origin Tamils from Sri Lanka. So, those who came to India before that, many of them were given citizenship. After 1983, government of India announced we will not give citizenship any further. What happened was, even after that, a lot of Indian origin Tamils came to India from Sri Lanka to save their life. The civil war had started, many of them were being killed. So from 1983 to 2009, when the official civil war ended, between this lakhs and lakhs of people came to India and they were settled in refugee camps in Tamil Nadu. Now, refugee camps in Tamil Nadu as of 31st of March 2023 have close to 58.5 thousand refugees. Now, apart from this, a lot of refugees are living outside these camps as well. The government of India has not given them proper citizenship. However, what has happened is the government has made many schemes applicable to them. Like they are considered beneficiaries of many schemes, not just by central government, but the Tamil Nadu government as well. For example, they are covered under the PDS system, so they get subsidized food grains. Their children get educational assistance. The DMK government in Tamil Nadu also has renamed refugee camps as rehabilitation camps. They are trying to renovate that as well. So officially they have not been granted citizenship, but there are a lot of benefits that are given to them, but not all. As a citizen, you have much more benefits. So many of them have been demanding that they should get proper citizenship now. So what is happening is a lot of them have appealed in the court. The reason, in fact, why this article is written is there was a long case going on for one of the refugees who was in fact born in India. Born in the refugee camp, he had filed a case in the Tamil Nadu High Court, and now the High Court has finally decided that yes, he should be given the citizenship. Now the point here is, out of these thousands of refugees that are in the camps, many of them are born in those refugee camps. So if you look at the law in India, the law about citizenship, many of them may be eligible for citizenship in India, but they have not been granted that citizenship so far because a Union Home Affairs Ministry has seized that or has stopped granted citizenship in such cases. Now, as you know, recently the Citizenship Amendment Act was passed, although it has not been implemented, but that does not include Sri Lanka. That was specifically for the people who had come into India illegally or legally from Pakistan, Afghanistan and Bangladesh. There was a lot of demand from the refugees in these camps that this law should be applicable to people who have come in from Sri Lanka as well, but the government did not really agree to it. Now, the other part of the problem here is India does not have any refugee policy. India does not have any refugee policy. The refugee policy means, for example, certain countries can make a policy that if a refugee comes to our country from this and this country and lives for these many years, we will give them citizenship. When you have a policy such as this, you actually give a clear signal to people coming in from outside whether they will be given citizenship or not, so that they are sure before applying. In India's case, since there is no refugee policy as such, there is no clarity whether citizenship will be given or not. it then becomes a prerogative of the government. For now, what India does is we don't force the refugees to go out. We follow the principle of non-refoulement. Means we don't force refugees or asylum seekers to return to their country when their life is in danger. Although we don't promise them citizenship, but we don't say that no, you have to go back. Now in India, as I said, multiple treaties were signed. We promised citizenship to about 6 lakh people from Sri Lanka. About 4,61,000 Indian origin Tamils came to India when they were given citizenship by the Indian High Commission. However, still thousands of refugees are left in these camps. As I said, many of them were born in India. About 148 people were born in India before July 1, 1987. 566 people were born before December 3, 2004. There are 35 persons were born after December 3, 2004. Many of them are eligible to get citizenship under our Citizenship Act, under our Constitution. However, most of them are still being forced to live in these refugee camps only. In fact, there is a very recent report in the Hindu newspaper which says 45% of Sri Lankan Tamil living in these camps were born in India. So if you actually see, they do deserve to get Indian citizenship. You can't say that no, they are not citizens of India because they don't have any connection. Most of them, as you can see, are born in India. Now this is the short gist of the story. As I told you, there were multiple agreements signed. 1964, Sirimavu Shastri agreement, where Lal Bahadur Shastri was the Prime Minister, he signed this agreement. 1974, Sirimavu Gandhi Pact, where Indira Gandhi had signed this agreement, under which 6 lakh people, along with their natural increase, were granted citizenship when they came to India. However, those who entered India after July 1983, Home Ministry said that we won't be granting them citizenship anymore. Now, what has the judiciary done? Judiciary has taken a very sympathetic stand in favor of the refugees who have come into India from Sri Lanka. For example, in 2019, the court had said that not taking any decision on the citizenship of the Indian origin Tamils is a violation of their article number 21. And the government must look into this as soon as possible. The more interesting decision was in 2022. The court said that the principles of Citizenship Amendment Act would also apply to Sri Lankan Tamil refugees. So court said that the Citizenship Amendment Act that you have passed, specifically keeping in mind Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, the same principles should be applied to Sri Lanka. Although they did say this, but the government has not done this. The government has not said that, oh, from now onwards we will give citizenship to these refugees as well. But the court has been of the view that the same principle should apply here. Means the principle of Citizenship Amendment Act was that we can't send them back. Why? Because their life is in danger. As per Citizenship Amendment Act, as you know, anyone who came to India from these 3 countries belonging to these 6 religions before 31st December 2014 will be given the citizenship. The court said that the same principle should apply to Sri Lankan refugees as well. But again, the government said that we have not implemented that so far. We are still thinking about it, whether or not to include the Sri Lankan refugees as well in this case. Now, from the prelims exam point of view, the first article that we have is from the front page of the Hindu newspaper, where the Supreme Court refused to stay the law on selection of Chief Election Commissioner and the election commissioners. We had discussed this earlier as well. I'll remind you once again what is the issue all about. As you know, the appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner and the election commissioners as per the Constitution of India is to be done by the President of India. Now, there is no panel that is formed. There is no official committee that has to be formed. So what used to happen was the Prime Minister, along with the Council of Ministers, used to advise a name or recommend a name, and that name was appointed as the election commission by the President of India. However, the problem here was that there was no role of the opposition members. There was no role of anyone outside the government. So there was a petition filed last year in the Supreme Court that this should change. Supreme Court agreed to this. Supreme Court changed this. What did the Supreme Court do? The Supreme Court in March said that there has to be a committee of 3 people. There has to be the Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition of the Lok Sabha, and the Chief Justice of India. These three people should decide, recommend a name to the President of India, and then the President should appoint. So again, the Supreme Court said the government alone does not have the prerogative. Let's have a three-member committee, one from government, one from opposition, one neutral member from the judiciary, and then we will recommend a name. Government obviously would not like it, because any government, irrespective of the party, would want to have their power, would want to have a free hand in deciding who shall be the election commissioner. So government quickly introduced a new law. Government changed the law. What did it do? It said that the three-member committee should be Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition, and a cabinet minister of the Prime Minister's choice. They should be the one recommending to the President of India. This was the government's view. Now, this is something that has been challenged in the Supreme Court. The petitioners have gone to the Supreme Court saying that the Parliament did not do the right thing. What the Parliament has done, this structure, is a violation of the basic structure of the Constitution. Why? They are saying that it goes against the concept of separation of powers. How? As you know, as per separation of powers, judiciary, executive, legislative should be independent of each other. But in this process, what is happening is that we have a situation where the government is actually controlling who shall be the election commissioner, and the government is overtaking the role that the judiciary had given to itself. The judiciary had included the Chief Justice of India here, but the Chief Justice of India is being removed, and this is something that the court should refuse to accept. The court should put a stay order. What the Supreme Court has done, Supreme Court has refused to put a stay order. The Supreme Court, again, I'll repeat, Supreme Court has not said we are dismissing the petition. They did not dismiss the petition. They said that we will not put a stay order. We will hear the matter completely. By the end, when the matter comes to an end, then we will decide what to do. But right now, we are not staying this. The next hearing will be held in April only. This is the entire matter. It's all about Article 324 of the Constitution, which says that the Chief Election Commissioner and the Election Commissioner are appointed by the President on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers till the Parliament enacts a law. Now, this is the important phrase. Till the Parliament enacts a law. The government says the Constitution gives the power to Parliament to enact the law. This is what we have done. But the petitioners say that what you have done is you have overtaken the prerogative of the Supreme Court in what they had done. This is again the gist of the matter. The law of the government also talks about having a committee of a search panel. So there will be a search panel who will shortlist certain names, and those names will be given to this selection committee. Now, usually what happens, as per the Constitution, there is no specific eligibility criteria to become election commissioners. So what happened usually was, whichever party was in power, they used to choose those IAS officers or bureaucrats, or if not IAS officers, other bureaucrats who are close to them. Every political party has a liking for certain IAS officers. Every political party likes the way of working of certain officers. So those are usually chosen to put into these positions. And this is what happened in Election Commission's case as well. Something that the government likes, but the opposition obviously would want to change this. The next article is about international meet of pulses, or for pulses specifically to be held in India. This is called the Global Pulse Confederation. The Global Pulse Confederation. So this meeting will be held in India in February. This is a chance for India to go ahead and showcase to the world the progress that we have made in the cultivation of pulses. India, as you know, has been a strong supporter of pulses around the entire world. We have even made sure that at the UN as well, we talk a lot about the importance of pulses and nutritional value that they have, especially for those who don't consume meat. It has also been at the spotlight from the side of the government of India. The government has been trying to ensure that it becomes a part of the people's day-to-day diet in India. 2023 convention that was held last year was held in Sydney, where over 40 countries participated. This year also, we are expecting similar kind of participation. This was held in India 18 years earlier, and now this is coming back to India for attracting the entire world's attention. As you know, India has been putting a lot of attention on the millets as well, using millets. In fact, most of the menu of the G20, when the delegations were here, most of the menu of the G20 was actually made of millets only. So India does have this advantage that we know how to put certain food products in the microscope to make sure that the entire world looks towards it. And this is what we are trying to do with the pulses as well. We are trying to promote it because pulses have an advantage. They don't require a lot of water. They act as great diversifier for those soils as well, where wheat and rice is being grown time and time again. It helps the soil in getting back all its nutrition in the long run. African countries, apart from that, Brazil, Argentina, they are also promoting pulses. India also has an economic advantage. We are the largest producer of pulses in the world. That is why for India, it is good that the countries around the world are realizing the importance of pulses. About 1/4 of grocery cart can be plant-based food if the pulses production actually increase in the world. Now, if you have a look at the data, the fact about pulses production in India, India is the largest producer, as I said, of pulses in the world. About 1/4 of production happens in India only. It accounts for 20% of area under food grains in India and contributes 7 to 10% of the food grain production in the entire country. They are grown both in Kharif and the Rabi season. In the Rabi season, they contribute more than 60% of the total production. Among the states, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, UP, Karnataka are the top 5 pulse producing countries. Do remember this list, the top 5 pulse producing states, not countries. This is important because when such a kind of a conference is held in the country, it usually brings a topic in the news, so it may very well be asked later on in the prelims examination. The government also has been trying to give a push to improve cultivation of pulses, to have better variety. For that, the Indian Council of Agriculture Research has also been working to increase the productivity, to come up with better varieties of pulses that have a better yield going forward as well. Because of their efforts from 2014 to 2023, there were 343 high-yielding varieties and hybrids of pulses that were recognized for cultivation across the entire country. These research organizations play a very, very important role. They are the ones who have to come up with better varieties that have better nutrition, that can be cultivated easily, and that suits the Indian market as well as the international market also, if we have to sell that. The next article is about the tuberculosis cases notification in the country. Last year, over 25 lakh cases of TB were notified. Now, there are two ways to look at it. One, when you say, oh, more cases of TB were notified, that means TB is increasing in India. But how it is actually looked at by the authorities is, more cases being notified means more cases coming on official numbers so that we can actually identify the patients. Consider this like COVID. Whenever there is a COVID case, it is important for the authorities to know about it so that they can have surveillance, they can keep a track, they can treat the patient. Similar is the case with TB as well. Mainly when the pandemic was on, because all the attention was on COVID-19, TB cases notification fell down considerably, means the TB cases were not officially registered. That becomes a problem because if this disease is hidden, it can spread from one person to the other. That is why it becomes problematic. Now this year, from the private sector, 7.33 lakh cases were notified, which is the largest ever for the private sector. The government of India has been running the National Strategic Plan for 2025. The aim is to eliminate TB completely by 2025. One of the things that this strategic plan aims to do is to improve the notification of TB, to make sure that the cases are notified, because the first step to treating TB is to identify it and bring it to the attention of the authorities. Because in a lot of cases when people die of tuberculosis, the problem is it was never identified, it was never diagnosed that people had TB. And this is why it becomes problematic. Even now, private sector has a long way to go. 50 to 70% TB patients are being treated in private sector in India. But even then, from the private sector, very low number of cases are being notified. The National Strategic TB Plan aims to ensure that this mindset that I have to hide this disease goes away and we have a complete database of the TB patients. This is what National Strategic Plan for TB Elimination looks like. Again, their aim is to ensure 100% elimination of tuberculosis by 2025. They have introduced a conditional access program, and which is an anti-TB in the form of an anti-TB drug called bedaquiline. So again, the problem of drugs, medicine not being available is being solved by the government. The government wants to ensure that people suffering from TB get their hands on medicines even if they can't afford it. Under Made in India program, we have developed first-line anti-TB drug that was proposed in the public sector. The government has also started a portal called the e-Nikshay portal for those who don't want to publicly come out as TB patients, thinking that it will exclude them from the society. They can use this portal to get the help of the doctors as well. Because even now, unfortunately, there is a lot of taboo associated with diseases such as TB. That is why people don't want to come out and announce that they have tuberculosis. This is something that has to be controlled here. The last article that we have here is about the Panama Canal. Now, for the past few days, we have been discussing the problems in the Red Sea. In the Red Sea, as we have seen, multiple cargo ships have been attacked by the Houthi rebels from Yemen. Now, there is a problem that seems to be happening in the other important trade route as well, called the Panama Canal. Now, this is not a problem about anyone attacking. The problem in the Panama Canal is that there seems to be shortage of water in the Panama Canal. Now, please understand, this is very different as compared to other water bodies. Panama Canal, like the Suez Canal, is an artificial body. But how Panama Canal works is, to actually have ships pass through Panama Canal, you require a lot of water. And I'll just show you how. The Panama Canal is actually something like this. So the altitude is very different. So basically, to push huge cargo ships to enter this canal, there is an increased altitude that the ships have to take. So how is it possible? How is that push given to the ships? By using the force of a lot of water. So millions and millions of gallons of water is used to push the cargo ship to change their altitude. With the lack of water, this has been becoming a problem. Even before, when the ships used to come to Panama Canal, when they used to enter here, there was a wait. There used to be a waiting time. The ships used to wait for a few hours. When their turn used to come, they used to go and they were pushed. Now that waiting time has increased to many days. There are ships that are waiting for multiple days at the entry of the Panama Canal on the either side, and they are trying to see enough water is available to give them a push. That is becoming problematic. One of the world's leading shipping companies, Maersk, has now said that they were cargo ships will not go to the Panama Canal. They will rather use a rail service to cross the canal because they don't think that it is worth it to wait for such a long time. The Panama Canal is about 82 kilometers long, and I'll first show you the map. Where is it? So if you can see here, this is the Panama Canal. See the importance. Even within the US, if they have to connect their western coast with the eastern coast, from San Francisco, they have to send something from New York by water. If there was no Panama Canal, they had to go all across Latin America to reach this. That is why for America, it is extremely important to have this Panama Canal functioning, because it gives them a way out. And not just from the US to these countries. From US, for example, let's say from their western coast, if they have to ship something to Europe, if they have to ship something to Asia, for that also Panama Canal here is extremely, extremely important. That is why Panama Canal is a very, very important trade route for nations around the world, especially for US and for China as well, because China also sells a lot of stuff to the US. their trade with US is extremely high. Now, if you look at this, this is how the Panama Canal works. So there is the entry gate lock, and this is again another entry gate. This area is called the Gatun Lake. This area is called the Gatun Lake. As you can see here, the altitude is slightly higher. Now, to push the ship at the Gatun Lake entrance point, there is an artificial freshwater lake of 26 meters above the sea level that is created. An average, again see this, an average of 200 million liters of fresh water is used for passing of a single ship. So just imagine the amount of water it requires so that it can help a single ship to pass this lake and to enter the canal. This is where the problem is. When they don't have enough sources of water in the Panama Canal, this is where the problem now has started. The Panama Canal, as we discussed, is an extremely important trade route, a small canal between North and South America, so that there is trade that can happen easily from the western coast of America to Europe and to other countries. It has supported international trade for over 100 years now. It's extremely important. If the ships don't take that route, it will increase the shipping time and cost considerably. Now, if you look at the history of this canal, the construction officially was actually first started by the French. They were the ones who understood its importance first. It was in 1904 that the Americans acquired this canal from French. This was a time when America gave this doctrine that in North and South America, in our Western Hemisphere, there should not be any outside interference. We will take care of everything. Then the US began the work on the canal till 1999. Till 1999, it was the US that controlled it. It was only in 1999 that Americans handed this over to Panama. There was a lot of issue between US and Panama for this as well. There were allegations that US is trying to, US gave a lot of money to Panama politicians because Panama politicians wanted to use this canal for other countries as well, demand more money. US did not want that. US wanted to control Panama. But in 1999, officially US handed this over to Panama, leading to which, after which US has had a very free, or not, I won't say free, but US has had a very easy right to use this canal. It's not just US, but China also uses this for very large trade routes because they have to send a lot of products from their country to the other country to the other side. This brings us to the end of today's discussion. Here are a couple of practice questions which I would really request all of you to write. As you know, we have a student answer writing portal. You can write your answers there, check each other's answers, give feedback to each other. The link for that portal is in the description of the video. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the next session of the Hindu Newspaper Analysis. Have a good day ahead. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.